1. Cem Sultan. Cem Sultan became more valuable after he lost. That was the cruel part. When Mehmed the Conqueror died in 1481, Cem did not quietly step aside for his brother Bayezid. He moved toward power. He entered Bursa, acted like a ruler, and for a short time, the Ottoman Empire had two possible futures. Then, Bayezid struck back. Cem lost the race for the throne, but defeat did not make him harmless. It made him useful. He fled Ottoman lands and eventually fell into the hands of foreign powers. The Knights of Rhodes, European rulers, and even the Pope understood what they had. They did not have a guest. They had a weapon. As long as Cem lived, Bayezid could be pressured. As long as Cem existed, another Ottoman future remained possible. Cem escaped the empire, but not the throne. He became a prisoner of his own blood. And the next prince would prove that even looking like the winner could be a trap. 2. Şehzade Ahmed. Şehzade Ahmed looked like the prince who should have won. That was his mistake. During the final years of Bayezid II, Ahmed seemed strongly placed for succession. He had experience, status, and supporters. From a distance, he looked like the natural future of the empire. But the Ottoman throne did not reward the prince who looked ready. It rewarded the prince who moved faster. His brother Selim understood the game better. Selim gathered military backing, pushed with force, and refused to wait for others to decide his future. Ahmed had expectation. Selim had momentum. In Ottoman succession, momentum could crush expectation. Ahmed's fall shows one of the sharpest rules of the dynasty. A prince could stand near the throne and still have no control over it. He could be favored, respected, and prepared, yet lose to the brother who understood that power was not inherited calmly. It was seized. Ahmed lost before he understood that the race had already begun. But if ambition was dangerous, the next prince showed something even worse. Trying to look harmless could also get you destroyed. 3. Şehzade Korkut. Şehzade Korkut tried to survive by becoming less threatening. The palace saw a quieter threat. He was not like Selim. Korkut was learned, cultured, and known for scholarship. He looked more like a prince of books than a prince of battle. In another dynasty, that might have protected him, but not here. The Ottoman throne did not only fear men who openly demanded power, it feared men who could become symbols of power. If Korkut moved, he was dangerous. If he stayed silent, that silence could be called patience. If he waited, that waiting could be called planning. His blood alone made him useful to anyone who might one day oppose Selim. That was the trap. A prince could not prove he was harmless, because the danger was not only what he did, it was what others might do in his name. Korkut's life showed that innocence was almost impossible inside Ottoman succession. And if a quiet prince could be feared, imagine what happened to the prince everyone actually loved. 4. Şehzade Mustafa. Şehzade Mustafa was not doomed because he failed. He was doomed because too many people believed he would succeed. He was the son of Sultan Süleyman, one of the most powerful rulers in Ottoman history. Mustafa had experience, respect, and the kind of popularity that made soldiers look at him as a future sultan. That should have made the dynasty proud. Instead, it made the palace nervous. In the Ottoman world, popularity was not just love, it was political power. If soldiers admired Mustafa, could they one day follow him? If officials respected him, could they gather around him? If the people imagined him as the future, what did that mean for the men shaping the present? Mustafa became dangerous because he looked too suitable. That is the most painful trap of all. The perfect prince could become the least safe prince. In 1553, Mustafa was executed by order of his own father. After that, every surviving prince understood the message. The palace did not always need proof. Suspicion could be enough. 5. Şehzade Bayezid. Şehzade Bayezid lived after Mustafa's fall, which meant he had already seen the ending. He knew what happened when a prince became too popular. He knew what suspicion could do. He knew that waiting quietly did not guarantee survival. And he knew his brother Selim stood between him and the future. So Bayezid fought. But once he lost, the old pattern returned. Like Cem Sultan before him, Bayezid fled beyond Ottoman reach, toward Safavid territory. On paper, it looked like escape, but an Ottoman prince did not become ordinary when he crossed a border. He became diplomatic currency. Bayezid was still Suleiman's son, still Selim's rival, still a possible banner for anyone who wanted to pressure the empire. That is what makes his story so tragic. He understood the trap. He had already watched it close around Mustafa, and still he could not outrun it. The throne had a longer reach than the road beneath his feet, but soon the dynasty stopped waiting for princes to become threats. It began removing possibility itself. 6. Mehmed III's brothers. When Mehmed III became sultan in 1595, 19 of his brothers were executed. This is where the story stops being about one unlucky prince. It becomes a machine. Most of these brothers had not led armies. They had not delivered speeches. They had not started rebellions. Some never had the chance to become anything at all. Their danger was not what they had done. Their danger was what they might become. The logic was brutal. If brothers survived, factions could gather around them. If factions gathered, civil war could begin. If civil war began, the empire could tear itself apart. So the palace made a terrible calculation. Remove the rival before the rival becomes real. This was not only fear, it was fear turned into policy. Cem was trapped by exile. Mustafa was trapped by popularity. Bayezid was trapped by defeat. But these princes were trapped before ambition, before choice, before personality. They were trapped by birth. And then the fear moved even closer, from brother against brother to father against son. 7. Şehzade Mahmud. Şehzade Mahmud was supposed to be the future. That was the problem. He was the son of Mehmed III, and in a normal royal house, a promising son should have made a father feel secure. But inside the Ottoman palace, promise could look like a threat. Mahmud did not need to rebel. Other people only needed to imagine him as the better future. The palace was full of factions, whispers, predictions, and fears. Every prince had people watching him. Every mother had enemies. Every servant could carry a rumor. Every rumor could become evidence. Mahmud lived inside that air. If he seemed capable, someone could say he was being prepared. If people liked him, someone could say support was forming. If his future looked bright, someone could say the present was in danger. That was the trap. Even a son could become a rival before he became a ruler. The dynasty needed heirs, but feared what heirs could become. So the empire searched for a softer answer to the bloodshed. It found one. Walls. 8. Mustafa I. Mustafa I survived because the system changed. At first, that sounds like mercy. Ahmed I did not remove him in the older way. Mustafa was spared, but Ottoman mercy often came with a locked door. He lived under confinement, in the system remembered as the Kafes, the cage. A prince inside the cage could not govern a province. He could not gather soldiers. He could not build a faction in public. He could not become another Cem, Ahmed, Mustafa, or Bayezid. The state kept him alive by keeping him powerless. But there was a hidden cost. A prince who never learns power may one day be forced to use it. Mustafa was eventually placed on the throne, but survival had not prepared him for rule. He became a ruler shaped by isolation, fear, and the control of stronger forces around him. That was the new trap. The cage saved the prince's body, but weakened the ruler inside it. And Osman II would prove something even darker. Reaching the throne did not open the cage. Sometimes it only changed its shape. 9. Osman II. Osman II reached the throne young. That should have been the escape. It was not. He became sultan, but quickly saw that the throne was surrounded by powers that did not simply obey. The Janissaries were supposed to serve the state, yet they had become strong enough to pressure the ruler himself. Osman wanted reform. He wanted to break the forces that limited royal power. He saw the problem clearly, but seeing the trap is not the same as escaping it. Osman thought the throne gave orders. The Janissaries reminded him that power also listened to soldiers. In 1622, Osman was overthrown, and his reign ended violently. His story proves that the Ottoman prince was not only trapped before becoming sultan, he could be trapped after becoming sultan too. Before power, a prince feared his brothers. After power, he feared the men who could unmake him. Osman did not escape danger by reaching the throne. He entered the center of it, and the final prince shows what happened when the cage itself began producing rulers. Figure 10. Ibrahim I. Ibrahim I was not only a troubled ruler, he was the result of a damaged system. The cage had been created to protect the empire from dangerous princes. It reduced the chance of brothers raising armies against each other. It kept possible rivals close, watched, and controlled. But it also created men trained mainly to survive. Ibrahim spent years in confinement. He did not grow into rule through command, administration, or public responsibility. He grew up with fear, isolation, and waiting. Then the door opened. But it did not open into freedom. It opened into the most dangerous office in the empire. Ibrahim's reign became vulnerable to palace influence, court pressure, and military politics. The system that had tried to make princes harmless now had to hand power to men shaped by helplessness. That was the final irony. The Ottomans feared strong princes because strong princes could start civil wars. So they caged princes to make them safe. But when a caged prince became sultan, the empire could inherit weakness at the top. The throne had trapped its rivals. Then it trapped itself. Cem was trapped by exile, Ahmed by expectation, Korkut by suspicion, Mustafa by popularity, Bayezid by defeat, Mehmed's brothers by birth, Mahmud by promise, Mustafa I by survival, Osman by power, and Ibrahim by the cage. The Ottoman throne was never just a seat. It was a test, a shadow, and sometimes a prison. It did not simply choose princes. It consumed them. Subscribe for more deep history explained like this, and comment which dynasty you want uncovered next.